Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer and angel therapy practitioner, and I want to wish you a wonderful holiday season. Today is December 24th, 2022, and I'm here with your weekly Angelscopes. This is where we get the angels' advice for traversing the astrological transits for the week coming ahead. So here we go. I want to say these videos are based on whole sign Western astrology. So I believe you should look at your rising sign first. If I ever talk about a house, I am basing that on your rising sign. I believe the moon is of immense importance. So I would check your moon sign. I believe it's on a par, if not on some ways supersedes the rising sign, because humans are emotional creatures and they manifest on an emotional basis. Then there's the sun, which you always check, you know, that's your birthday. And then something called stelliums. This is where there are 3 or more personal planets in one sign or house. A stellium for me indicates a soul's intention for certain experiences or certain dynamics within this lifetime in order to evolve and to feel the richness of co-creation. So here we go. We are just entered Capricorn season. This is a cardinal sign. It is a sign that likes to build, likes to see the fruits of its labors in the material world. And this is also the winter solstice. We just experienced that as well. So we're seeing the initiating of a season, the winter season. And for me, this is sort of this time right now where we are allowing ourselves an opportunity to review some of the dynamics within our own lives that maybe don't work anymore, or they're not as effective as they used to be. So this winter season almost feels like, you know, when in the winter, the plants appear to die. Their leaves have fallen off and they are stick figures often. But this is awaiting a new beginning in the springtime, which is what we will see when we get into the Aries season, the second cardinal sign. So the reason I bring this up is because I feel as if this week and the first few weeks of January are giving us an opportunity to really rest, review, relax, and to decide how we want to move forward in the new year. Rather than trying to take action, I believe this is giving us an opportunity to clarify what we want to build in 2023. So I quickly want to mention that on January 23rd, Uranus will go direct. So we're going to start to see Uranus stationing. It's a slow-moving planet. It's going to sit in Taurus. I think right now it's at 15 degrees. And this to me is Uranus represents liberation. It's genius. There's a brilliance behind it. There's a willing to reach for things that are out of sight. So there's an intuitive nature to it. So I think this is really important because once Uranus turns direct, all the planets will be moving forward, and we will really be able to start to implement what we have been contemplating, strategizing, planning at this period of time. So let's talk specifically about the week of Christmas here in the United States. I'm here in the Pacific time zone. So all the way till New Year's Eve. And I think there's some important things going on. So first we see Jupiter has entered Aries and is at 0 degrees. So here we're on the world axis. We're at the Aries is like the spring of the zodiac. So there's new things budding. And the 0 degree is this sort of, I think it's a potent infusion of the energy. I almost feel like there's a certain naivete to it that doesn't see obstacles, only opportunities. And I think that this being Jupiter in Aries is giving me an opportunity to anchor my faith in everything that I have experienced in this lifetime so far, and to give me a view and a hope for my future as I see it, as an individual, supporting what I want to endeavor, and seeing that as being able to help others on some level, invite them to have a similar experience as they are pioneers for their own creation. At the same time, or around that time, from December 30th till, so Jupiter will stay at the 0 degree from today's December 24th, until the 29th. Then it will move to the 1st degree, and it will stay at the 1st degree until the full moon in Cancer. So the 1st degree is the Aries degree. This is again kind of capitalizing on this energy of bravery and courage and a willingness to look at what do I want from me? And when I allow myself that privilege, then I also am more compassionate for what other people want for themselves. So I think this first beginning of 2023 is really a powerful anchoring of a belief and a faith in myself that allows me to have the Capricorn energy of tenacity and endurance to continue to build as I cannot see the results just yet. And this is the beautiful thing about Jupiter, because it gives me that faith. The next thing that I think is so important is that Mercury is preparing to go retrograde. It will go retrograde on December 29th. And at this time, as it prepares in the 23, 24 degree, this is like the Aquarian degree, it is the Piscean degree, so it's sort of hovering around there and in very close proximity to Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn. So I'm thinking about everything that I've been through. I'm thinking about how I want to restructure my life. Oh man, sorry about that. Oh dear. Sorry about that, everybody. I thought I had put on the do not disturb. So excuse me. All right, so let's go back. So Pluto's at 27 degrees Capricorn, and Mercury is about to go retrograde in Capricorn. I think this is about really determining what thoughts serve me, what am I speaking, what am I purporting for myself, how am I standing in my own life as a leader, as a builder of my own life, and an awareness to this. So I'm really feeling kind of warm and fuzzy, because as we know that Jupiter is going to stay at the 1st degree until the full moon, there's an epiphany of some kind coming about how I self-nurture. And self-nurturing is not just about how I take care of my physical body, but how I take care of my spiritual body, my mental body, my emotional body, my intimate body, how I perceive myself in an intimate situation. And I'm not talking sex. I'm talking about the vulnerability of somebody knowing all your nooks and crannies, because we also are going to see Venus have a meeting with Pluto. So Venus and Mercury have been moving together pretty much for months since I think it was Libra season. They've been very close proximity to one another. And I really believe that this has been illuminating my self-worth, how I make my money. Again, Venus rules the voice, and oftentimes we think of it as the singing voice, but Mercury is going to say and think about the permissions I give myself to assert myself. It's going to, Mercury is going to be the self-talk. So I think we've been taught, these two planets have been talking about the permissions that we will now give ourselves as we move forward. So we see Libra creating balance between them, Scorpio offering deep psychological awareness and exploration that takes us into the Sagittarian energy that gave us faith. Now, these two planets moving into Capricorn are going to start to build that in the 3D world. Now, Mercury is going backwards in Capricorn to sort of take a second look at how we're going to do this, while Venus is going to move forward and meet with Pluto. And when she meets with Pluto, this is going to be a real kind of, what do they say, come to Jesus moment, because Pluto's going to say, you know, we've had this talk before, and, you know, since our last meeting, how have you chosen to evolve? How have you chosen to dig deep into your heart and give yourself permission to trust that you are valuable and you are deserving, and you should allow yourself the privilege of exploring your own talents in the 3D world. I really believe that the reason humans think Pluto is so awful because of the death and the decay, and I'm not going to take away from the idea that the physical death is a jarring experience for the humans left behind. But the structures that Pluto kills off are usually structures that don't serve us, but we're used to them. And the familiarity of them gives us comfort, even if we don't like them. And Pluto's like, no, you don't even know what you can experience when you let go of that. So this is what this meeting is all about. And then, once Mercury goes direct, Mercury's going to meet with Pluto before it goes into Aquarius. So I believe that this is a really powerful meeting, and not one that necessarily has to be, because this is actually happening on December 31st. So I really think this is about setting a tone for the new year. And I want to offer it this way, because you may start to think that about things like, how is this thought serving me? Is this story that I keep telling contributing to the speed bumps in my life? Because that is what I think Pluto wants you to move forward. We're going to see on the 31st as well, the moon will be in Taurus, and the moon moves very quickly, but it's going to have a brief meeting with the North Node at 11 degrees and Uranus at 15 degrees. Uranus is still retrograde. 15 degree is the Gemini degree, Mercury. The 11th degree is the Aquarian degree, and it's also the degree of thought. And Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So this is a big theme about how I think, how I speak, and will I liberate myself from an old story of undeserving, or that happiness is a struggle, money is a struggle, enjoying life is a struggle. The focus on struggle perpetuates the struggle. So now we come to the idea that Chiron representing the wound and the gift, is in a sextile with Mars retrograde 10 degrees Gemini. I feel like I'm just repeatedly being told, what are you thinking? What are you focusing on? And how can you transform that into serving you today? The brave idea of allowing ourselves to review something without judgment, without regret, without some sort of melancholy, but removing ourselves a little bit and giving ourselves an opportunity to use that piece of information as data. Because I think this is very much what Uranus would do, would not be very emotional about it. It's data, and then turning things on its ear. Because this wound that Chiron represents in the house of self, Chiron has been in Aries and will continue to be in Aries for quite some time. It's moving very slowly, because I believe it is supporting the idea that to truly help humanity, no matter your race, no matter your religion, no matter your belief system, to truly help humanity is to allow each individual soul its unique expression. And that is why we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And this is when Venus moves into Aquarius at the end of January, she's going to have had that conversation with Pluto, and she's going to be ready to start to implement the action items that they put on the list when Pluto and Venus met on New Year's Eve. So I think this is super exciting. And while I expect some of it to feel a little disruptive, because the old structures again are familiar, and when we're renovating a house, sometimes we find hidden things in the walls that need to be repaired, and this is that period of time. And this is why I want to emphasize a lack of judgment. Don't judge, just use it as a piece of information. So let's start with our Capricorn babies and do our readings for this week. Our tarot card for Capricorn is Temperance, and Temperance represents balance. And balance is a wisdom. There's an ebb and a flow. We see this character, which is Archangel Gabriel, giving me an epiphany, seeing that there is the potential to experience life in a way that feels abundant, but it's also about the ebb and the flow, the back and the forth. Let's look and see where this might be focused. Let's do our reading. Our first angel for Capricorn rising, moon, sun, and stelliums is Fiona. The second is Archangel Raphael. The third is Francesca. And the final is Isaiah. When the human first experiences the Capricorn energy, it falls into the idea of duty and of obligation and some of the more challenging octaves of Capricorn and Saturn's energy. And as it matures, it gives us an opportunity to redefine. And that's what I think has been going on ever since Saturn met Pluto way back in like 2020. Okay, so here, Fiona is being joined by the focus card. Thank you very much. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the spider. Francesca is being joined by the dragon. And Isaiah is being joined by the restriction card. So for my Capricorns, and by the way, happy birthday for those of you. I want to say it this way. Fiona says, now that we've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And the receiving is really an awareness of focus. The human brain is literally branded. Those first experiences in those first few years really start to imprint our self-worth, what is expected from us by others. And when we're in the Capricorn energy, there is already a maturity there. There's already a sense of seriousness and a real passion for building whatever they want to experience in the material world or whatever's expected of them. So now we go back to the balance, because you may tend to think in a yes, no, have not, in a polarizing way about how can I do me and also serve others the way I want to. And this is where Archangel Raphael, the angel of healing, and the spider comes in, because as you come into relationship with the idea that you are serving others by serving your desires, this is kind of where it's taking what on one level feels arduous, like the tenacity and the determination and the, I don't care how you feel, just get the job done. That's all really challenging when you're not operating on your own desires. But when you're operating on your own desires, I'm trying to block Lucky right now. He's having his way with his toy. I don't know what to do. All right, I'm just going to continue on, because when you allow yourself to come into relation with what you want and with what you desire, when you put it in the web, it's not going to come out, and there's going to be this great leadership that you get to display. Because Francesca in the Angels of Advice is saying, do you want to focus on negativity, or do you want to focus on how it will feel when you get to your goal? And this calm, cool dragon says to me, Capricorn, you're not necessarily considered the most emotional sign, the most touchy-feely sign. But I think that you are much more emotional on the inside than you may let on. And so to me, this is really going back to some sort of interior job, because I think that what Spirit is saying is you're going to have to go through, let me do it this way. You're going to have to look twice at what you want to build in the new year, because the first version is more than likely going to be have a platform of still this thing of what is possible by the expectations of others, where your responsibilities come into play in relation to what you want for yourself. And so I think the restriction card is saying, take a pause before you start to try to implement something. Isaiah represents protection and giving birth to new ideas. And the new idea is essentially mostly about focusing on what it is you want versus what it is you think is possible. And in doing so, Spirit has an opportunity to bring you experiences that represent balance, represent something in the 3D world that you can hang your hat on that says maybe something else is possible, and I just haven't given life to it yet. Meaning I haven't been focusing in on it. Okay, I'm going to move the camera a little bit this way because Lucky is just going to town over there with his green monkey, and I'm not starting over. All right, everybody. Merry Christmas. All right. So that was Capricorn, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I'm now going on to our Aquarius. I'm going to work my way around the zodiac, and I'm starting with the birthday month. All right. For my Aquariuses, we have the Hanged Man. Now, oftentimes when I see this card, I think that it is a sacrifice for love. When I was studying the tarot, I used a deck based on Greek mythology. And the Hanged Man was Prometheus, as I recall. And so here I also associate this with Neptune. When I studied astrology and the tarot, they associate the Hanged Man with Neptune. It's a spiritual energy, but it's also an energy that has a bit of sacrifice attached to it, because the sacrifice doesn't necessarily have to come from something physical, but it does require, maybe there's a sacrifice of not escaping or not wanting to, or not moving forward, or allowing something to play out without your intervention in order for there to be an epiphany, for there to be some illumination of something. Let's see Aquarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, where that might be. The Neptune, the Hanged Man is also the number 12, which represents the 12th house, which again represents Neptune. All right, Aquarius. Our first angel is Bridget. The second is Opal. The third is Crystal. And the final is Desiree. We get a sip of my tea. Bridget is being joined by the deer. Opal is being joined by the raven. Crystal is being joined by the cow. And Desiree is being joined by the communications card. Years ago, I had an astrology, my chart done, and somebody said my Mercury is squares, I think, my Uranus. They said I say things that shock people. There's something going on here this week where I think the Hanged Man is really representing a pause. If you have certain patterns with people, here we are, we're right in the height of the holiday season. And, family is a great idea when you're watching the Hallmark Channel, but in reality, sometimes it's more like a sci-fi channel. And so here, I just feel as if Aquarius, gentleness and diplomacy is on the schedule for you. And in many ways, I want to task you with the idea of looking deeper into the situation, because that gentleness and diplomacy is not necessarily for the other person, but for you, so that you can walk out of a situation that could potentially be, a little disruptive is a word I want to use. Sometimes the holidays, people, they just, sometimes with our family, we let our hair down and we say things that we wouldn't say to other people, because here's Opal and here is the Raven. And in this particular sense, I feel as if there's a magical element to realizing that whatever your relationships are, maybe the bones have been picked clean. And there could very well be a sibling situation for Aquarius, where a sibling is, the pattern's a little challenging. And here you kind of can't, for your own peace of mind, maybe you just let it ride, you just kind of tune out a little bit, because Crystal is saying, have faith and hope, there's more on the horizon. And there is the cow, which represents abundance, nourishment, asking and receiving. So for me, I kind of feel as if there is this potential this week where, as we see Mercury, going to go retrograde, Mars is already retrograde in the sign of siblings, in the sign of workmates, teammates, neighbors, my community, being Gemini, because Desiree is saying conditions aren't favorable, and there's the communications card. So I want to offer it this way. If this week, somebody tries to revisit an old story or starts to show, patterned behaviors, whether it's a work situation, although some of you may be off this week, more than likely it could be friends or siblings. family dynamics. I want to put it that way because I'm feeling that Mars in retrograde energy. And, we know it's making a sextile to Chiron. So what you may end up finding is that your own mental process liberates yourself from actually acting or trying to, sometimes we voice our opinion and we know that nobody's going to listen to it. So we stop. And when we stop, we actually feel better. It's like we stop banging your head against the wall. There's going to be some sort of illumination, some sort of, and again, I started saying this was about sacrifice for love. And maybe the sacrifice is not actually engaging. You're just like, okay, it is what it is. That's who that person is. And, no point in frustrating myself. Because gentleness and diplomacy feels, and I want to offer this too. Okay, I just interrupted myself. The more aware you are of your own evolution, sometimes it can create more separation initially because you feel so much different than other people. But then there's this turn where you start to see the journey of unconsciousness, where you can have more empathy and compassion for another human as they struggle to find their awareness and their consciousness. So that's what I want to say for this week. Take care of you, do you. Frankly, I'm kind of the school that if I'm around people that I know are super irritating to me, I just stay away from them so I don't have to practice ignoring triggers. All right, let's go on to our Pisces rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And for those of you that may be new to my channel, I really think the moon is super important to pay attention to. We are emotional creatures. We manifest emotionally. The law of attraction is always in play, whether we're conscious of it or not. So when we're emotionally in a great place, we seem to draw in more things to support that. And when we're in an emotional challenge, we bring in energies to support the challenge. And it isn't necessarily to punish us or teach us something, but just to bring us to a level of awareness. When I'm in a wobble, or when I've been in a place where I'm, feeling things very realistically, versus spiritually, I actually ask spirit to help me to align to my inner being, to my to the broader knowing, and to make my awareness of my physical body less influential than my spiritual body. And then I start to see things really open up. So let's see, Pisces. Oh, we've got 3 major arcana cards in a row. And this one is the Chariot. The Chariot rules the sign of Cancer. You can see the moons on this guy's armor. You can see the stars above him. And there's a bit of polarity here because the Sphinx is being of opposite color. And the Chariot, which naturally we think would be moving, it is not actually in action in this card. The wheels themselves are this yellow color. So I feel like the movement comes from the solar plex chakra. So let's see where this is going to, what they're talking about for you, specifically Pisces rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Vanessa. The second is Omega. The third is Serena, and the final is Akasha. As we move into the Aquarian age, those of us that have been walking a spiritual path of awareness and consciousness and co-creation are going to be tasked on some level to stand even more rooted in that energy. And I myself, as I have done this work, I also feel a call to a broader experience. And so I almost feel like sometimes these experiences are like walking up a staircase. If it's super steep staircase, you're going to get winded. So you want to sort of take and pace yourself so that you can align more effortlessly. So for my Pisces, Vanessa's being joined by the Raven, Omega's being joined by the Communications card, Serena's being joined by the Lady of the Lake, and Akasha is being joined by the Burden card. Okay, so the Chariot being of Cancer energy, and we're coming up on a Cancer full moon. So I think this is going to be super important. And I think the next 4 or 5 full moons are all at the Cancerian degree, 16 degrees. So we're going to see a lot about intuition, self-nurturing in order to nurture others. So this is a card that I think is calling Pisces to reach for the stars in some ways, but also to I want to say movement comes in the form of no movement, almost taking a pause and reestablishing the faith you have in yourself and in magic, in the idea of synchronistic events, in the idea that coincidence really is not coincidence, but rather an energetic momentum that thought produces. Because here's the communications card, which would be your thoughts, and here's victory. And I believe that it's because you have been doing a lot of work. Jupiter just left your sign. Pardon me, Neptune has been there forever. So there's been this real erosion of what would be an illusion or a false perception that hasn't served you. So I believe that Serena is talking about serenity, a serenity with yourself as you hold steadfast to your truth. And Pisces is such a mutable sign. I think the most mutable sign, because it's the only sign that doesn't have any protective, protection. It's just these little fishies, doesn't have the shell that the crab has or the stinger that the Scorpio has, or scorpion. So I feel as if this is really about your self-talk, about having faith in yourself, and knowing that as you have the courage to step into your truth, Spirit is going to start to line things up. But again, we start this new year in a retrograde. Mars is retrograde, Mercury's retrograde. We're looking at the new year calling forth an opportunity to examine our belief system. And this is where the platform starts, because Akasha is the teacher here. And then I have the burden card. And I want to say it this way. When we had the planets going, as they go retrograde, and as Venus meets with Pluto, and there's a real strong conversation, I feel as if this may feel like you have to give up something. This chariot can represent polarities. And what I want to do is encourage you to have Spirit take over so that you can find a happy medium. You can find balance. And rather than feeling burdened either by being the teacher or the experiences that are coming forth that are teaching you your value, that are reminding you that you are a spiritual being inhabiting a physical experience. And part of the 12th house energy is to get out of your own way so that you can experience nirvana, because the 12th house represents the house of self-undoing. It's the house of addiction. And I think the reason why it kind of is the house of mental illness is because of being caught between two worlds. So here, when you realize that you're looking for balance between the two worlds, and to trust that the soul came here because it wanted to go under the veil of unknowing, and then to stretch itself and feel the exhilaration of that. When we know we're really good at something, and most humans, if you think about it, whatever you're best at, sometimes we throw that away and we go towards what's most challenging. And I think that's on some level because we know that our power lies there. When we accomplish something we didn't think we could accomplish, it's extremely exhilarating. So it's kind of the same thing when the soul chooses to come into the physical experience. It knows it's going to go into this sort of shadowed area, but it's excited about rediscovering the light within the shadow and then putting it in the physical. And when Saturn goes into Pisces, we're going to master those things. So it's super exciting. So try not to feel burdened by your own faith right now, or maybe the wobble of the in-between place when you've put an intention and now you're waiting for that inspiration from Spirit, and your humanness is saying, well, maybe it's never coming. It is coming. All right, let's go on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I think maybe Lucky's done with the green monkey. I'm going to try to move the camera back this way. Yeah. Okay. Sort of a little more. Anyway, you have to watch Capricorn to know what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Pisces. Our tarot card for this week is the 7 of Cups. This is a little bit of a challenging energy because you can see the characters in shadow. He's unsure what to do. Every decision has a consequence of some kind. There's no clear-cut path. There's a sense of feeling debacle in this energy. Let's see what that is. You know, having Jupiter coming at the 0 degree of Aries is this super pure, super powerful energy. And there could be almost almost feels like an impatience of wanting to make a decision, but yet I'm not sure if you've made it in this moment, if you would have the clarity required. So let's see. I'm an Aries rising. And I feel like I keep hearing the words pace yourself. Here is Archangel Michael. Here he talks about courage. There's Indriel, the light worker. Here is Isaiah. And then there's Oceana. You know, this may be where Aries is standing at the, you know, the staircase of their own dreams and desires. And there may be this like almost duplistic feeling of excitement and fear. Fear of exposure, fear of responsibility, fear of trolls, who knows. Archangel Michael is being joined by the frog. Indriel is being joined by the movement card. Isaiah is being joined by the deer. And Oceana is being joined by the perception card. Okay, so this is what I want to say for my Aries. Jupiter will be in your house until May. So you're going to get a lot of opportunities for expansion of yourself, what you want in the world. Chiron is there too. So Chiron might be a little bit challenging in the sense of exasperating the wound, but that's also exasperating the opportunity for the gift. Because I think what the gift is just to be you. And that's why Mars has been in Gemini for so long, because Mars rules Aries, and it's giving you an opportunity to really rethink not just who you are and what you want, but how to engage others and inspire others to support your vision. So you get to be Martian, but you don't have to be aggressive. You can be inspiring and passionate, because I think that Archangel Michael is asking Aries in this moment, rather than to focus in on the duplicity and to put yourself in shadow, to put yourself in confusion, because you're going back and forth between an old version of yourself and a new version. And now the frog is representing an opportunity to clean the house, which is the mind. But you have to have the courage to do that, the courage to be happy versus being right. And when I say that, also being happy versus wanting to be resentful, because as you take on the idea that you are truly, and I want to offer this, everybody is of the light. But Aries, in this case, you may be consciously aware of a mission that you have. And as you step into that in awareness, as you tame the lower vibrations of Aries and start to use them as wisdom, then you really see movement in your life that you would not have seen before. Because here Isaiah is saying that it's a good idea to give birth to new things. And this is gentleness and diplomacy. You know, I myself, as a young Aries rising woman, I'd sort of be extremely blunt sometimes. And sometimes I would be in a way where I thought if I exterminated someone from my life, they were actually going to go away. They didn't. They seemed to circle back around. And then my Aryan anger or frustration or bluntness or rudeness, frankly, sometimes I would just say things that were too truthful and not really very nice. Because when I was younger, I had a lot of piss and vinegar in me. I had a lot of, you done me wrong in the back of my head. Now I think Aries has an opportunity to really decide if that works for you. Because I think now it's about being an inspiring, passionate, courageous hero energy. Because Oceana talks about having a soul's mission, but also from an emotional place. And there's the perception card. And I think the courage is really to start to show up and to be in situations and to purport behaviors and communications that you yourself would respond favorably to. That's the way I want to put it. And this is not to acquiesce your power to someone else, but to rather stoke your power by engaging others. And that's why as Chiron walks through Aries, the wound is about the self. But I often think that wound is about a misperception that people have of Aries because they only see the aggressive part of them. They only see the bluntness. They only see the rapid movement. So as Mars has been able to go through Gemini and kind of, blow through like he normally would, Mars. And then he's like, whoa, I got to go back now, because he's going to go all the way back to the 8th degree. That's the Scorpio degree, transformation, awareness, a deep reflection into the psychology of who am I? Mars used to rule Scorpio. So now Mars is going to walk back through Gemini, through the town, through the neighborhood with my siblings in a whole different energy. Because that awareness now really brings the hero out in you. And I think it's fabulous. And I think it's going to be very satisfying, because as you have an awareness that everything is duplistic, every time you have a thought, it's two thoughts. The first is that passionate, inspired idea. And then the human bounces back to, well, how am I going to do that? Where is the money going to come from? And when you have an awareness of your focus and you keep moving towards the passion, then as you are passionate about your own focus, you engage other people in your passion, and they start to experience your own transformation. And that's in and of itself a leadership position. So it's exciting. All right, let's go on to our Taurus. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Strength card. This is wild. So I'm on my 5th sign, and we've had 4 major arcana cards. I think this is very powerful because we're also having like 4 or 5 full moons coming up at the 16th degree, and we're having at least 3 more Aquarius, Pisces, and then Aries new moons at the 1 or the 0 degree. So this is we are teeing things up, Taurus. And when Jupiter enters your sign at the mid-May 2023, you have opportunities that Uranus has been working at for so many years to break away the things that weren't serving you. So this is about fortitude, and this is about gentility as you tame the beast within. There may be moments when you're seeing red and you just want to blow through, but no, now you're smarter because you're aware. And you're not aware for other people, you're aware for yourself. And this is where I believe that you have the beauty of the finesse that Venus has, this sort of cozy, warm feeling. Now let's see where we're going with this. Where might that strength and fortitude need to be applied or get to be applied? The first angel is victory in the form of Omega. Then we have Caressa, the end of a life cycle, a new cycle beginning. There's Mystique. We've got the 2 unicorns coming out. And then we have Sonia. All right. Now, Sonia represents a deceased loved one. When I'm talking to a group of people, I think of Sonia as representing your team, your heavenly hosts, those that you do not know are guiding you, are holding space for you, are beckoning you to a better life from the other side. Omega is being joined by the dog. Caressa is being joined by the trust card. Mystique is being joined by the swan, and Sonia is being joined by the partnership card. All right. So I want to say it this way, because the strength, the gentility, this is Leo energy. Leo rules romance. And Taurus, there may very well be a resurgence of romance. There may be things moving forward as we get into the year. Now we're talking about just the week of the holidays. So this love that I'm feeling here may be just feeling really happy and satisfied in this holiday season. The dog represents loyalty, sincerity, unconditional love, and Omega represents victory. And to me, this feels fabulous. It feels as if I almost want to say it this way, because I think when people hear the word unconditional and they add love to it, they think that you have to love somebody when they treat you poorly or they're behaving poorly. I don't think so. I think in this particular case, this is about Taurus feeling great about themselves, about what's going on, that you're maybe on track with what your desires. And if indeed you want to have a partnership, you just may be feeling more willing to receive a partnership or an elevated experience within a partnership. Because this here, the unconditional part, is like, I don't need conditions to be a certain way for me to feel this way. And that's powerful, because here we have Caressa saying you're at the end of a life cycle, that new happiness is awaiting you, and the trust card. And I feel like that's a trust in a bigger picture. That's a trust in your inner knowing, your inner voice that says this was the plan for this lifetime. And even though you haven't experienced it, everything you've been stacking up with what you want is on its way, and it's right around the corner. And all you really have to do is be gentle with yourself, have the fortitude, stay the course, because in the angels' advice is mystique. Mystique is always about a process of coming out of the dark and into the light, and literally says, stay the course, miracles are afoot. And then there's the transformational swan. And this is, again, trusting an inner knowing that supersedes the eyeballs. Now, let's think about it this way. Taurus is a fixed sign. Taurus is an earth sign. So naturally, people are going to tell you, astrologers and others, that you need to build it in the material world. You need to see it in the 3D world. But now here's the transformation. Venus is a feminine energy that is receptive. And now you're taking your ruling planet and you're like, you know what? Yeah, I do deserve, because she's having that conversation with Pluto post haste this week. And yes, I do want this. And yes, I am an intuitive energy, especially Taurus moon, because here is now about being in partnership with your team so that you feel the victory that is afoot. And that victory is starting to see in the material world the things that you've only imagined, that you've only, and in a way that you trust it, in a way that you trust that there's a flow. There's going to be a continued flow as you focus not on conditions and how they are, but how you feel on the inside, and how much you trust not only your team on the other side, but your own intention. Because as you're aware of your focus, you can applaud yourself for aligning to what you want, to aligning to a place where spirit complements you. So even if there's an obstacle, you extract the wisdom of the obstacle and get over the obstacle fairly quickly. So I think this is a really exciting week for self-reflection. In the case of not what you haven't done, but what you have done, and how you have worked as a being energy to support a bigger version of what you want, and how you've reconciled most of your history, and to really anchor into that. That's where the gentleness and diplomacy comes in. That's where the trust that you've been doing the work of transformation. And now you're opening to a new chapter, and the new chapter complements. Okay, let's go on to our Geminis. Quick sip of my tea. I love my little fake fireplace on the TV. Gemini, oh, the 6 of Cups. I love this card. It's full of childhood innocence and love. It's the only card in the cup suit that is full of flowers. Everything's blossoming. And I love this adult who's walking away. I feel like the adult walking away is sort of like all the practicality and the reality is walking away, because practicality and reality is simply a focus. And that focus kicks in a law of attraction. So let's see where this childlike innocence is coming for this week. Again, Mars, you've been hearing this for months. Mars has been traversing your first house. So it could really be, we're in the last couple of weeks of the retrograde for Mars. It's going to go direct on the 12th of January. So we're getting to those degrees. I think Mars is at 10 degrees today, then it's going to go 9 and 8 before it moves forward. So, 10 is really a thought. First of all, it also represents sort of a Capricorn energy. So I want to start to implement structure, think about structure. The 9th degree would be Sagittarius. What do I believe? And the 8th degree is that transformational Scorpio. So I think this is about transforming from thinking too much about things, maybe even having a little bit too much going back and forth and frustration, to this sort of childlike innocence that says, this is what I want. This is what I want. I want to feel ease. I want to feel flow. I want to feel abundance. I want to feel trust. I want to enjoy the company of another human that I actually like and doesn't irritate me. Saying those things versus focusing on the obstacles. I think the 6 of Cups is bringing this in. Merlina is our first angel. Akasha is the teacher. Sonia is the team. And Archangel Gabriel is literally your angel. Angel of communication. So it's probably going to be where they're asking you to adopt childlike innocence, to walk away from being an adult so that your cups can blossom. Because if you've been experiencing Mars in a challenging way, which would not be surprising at all, because Mars in the unconscious energy is extremely challenging and extremely reactionary, aggressively. Merlina is being joined by the Wind Fairy. Akasha is being joined by the Protection card. Sonia is being joined by the Wasp. And Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Horse. Okay, so this week, I'm just going to say, your ruling planet is about to go retrograde. Mars is in your first house. And Merlina talks about confusion. And there's the Wind Fairy. And, And I really think that this is about contemplation. This is about thinking about things. Maybe you're even thinking about the new year. And I think you may be too much of a grown-up. I think, like the grown-up in this card, we need to walk a little bit away so we can get this childlike innocence and receive what is being offered, because Akasha is the spiritual teacher and there is the Protection card. And I feel as if there's the potential that you're actually frustrated from whatever Mars's energy has been in your first house. There's that energy, frustration and anger and retaliation. And there's your team. So they're literally saying they want you to go to this energy. They want you to just take whatever you're frustrated about and shelf it, put it on a shelf. Because I think that this will offer you an opportunity to have a space where a new thought comes in, because Archangel Gabriel is the angel of communications. And she's also asking you to turn over any insecurities you have. And there's the Horse. And I literally think this is about galloping away from whatever I've been thinking before and to start to give life to something new and much more the word I want to use is like warm and cozy and feeling, the wonderful thing about children is that they have, until they're taught that the world is scary, they don't have any lack of trust or faith or excitement and zest for moving forward. So I really want to offer you this, because Mars making that sextile to Chiron in Aries could very well bring up an opportunity to turn that wound into a gift, and to say to yourself, maybe, I keep looking for some sort of resolution that will never truly be unless I resolve it myself, within myself, until I come into a place of, I've done all I can do. I've said everything I could say. I've been everything I can be. And now I'm going to take me and move towards what I want. I'm going to start to focus on that. I'm going to let this new year bring in more vitality, more fun, more frivolity. Gemini is probably one of the most fun signs of the zodiac, always loves a good party. And it might be playing to that energy as Mars, let's get Mars moving out, right? So you have till March, Mars is still going to be in your house. But I think this is about being brave in claiming what it is you want and to enjoy it. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Cancer, you will be having a full moon coming up on the 6th of January, but even more so, I think it's important to pay attention to the subsequent moons, because we are having a series of full moons, which is the culmination of something, an illumination, the fullest cycle of the moon, and they're all going to be at Cancer degrees. And I think this is super important I think it's really ringing into the self-care, trusting my intuition, nurturing my intuition, practicing these things. Your tarot card is the 5 of Swords. This is a challenging energy. The first word that comes to mind is contempt. This character holding the swords has a bit of energy on the other two guys, and he's happy to have defeated them. And yet there's no win here. There's no win whatsoever. There's just people turning their back on somebody who probably needs, I get this feeling sometimes that this contempt comes from a lack of, when I see this guy's garb and I see the red on his, undergarments, and then the green, I feel like he's showed up more with the fire and the anger than he has the heart. And these people, while they have been defeated in compromise with this person, they are walking away. And I know that he's smiling, but I don't know if I feel like that's for real. So here, let's find out if you're the one walking away, what's happening, because, this is a challenging energy of a lack of compromise, or a lack of being able to see the other person's point of view, and somebody trying to be a little bit more dominant in this situation. Our first angel is Ariel. The second is Xana. The third is Bridget, and the final is Oceana. So Cancer, Gemini is your 12th house, and Mars has been in your 12th house. That could be what this part of what this card is about. Some things that have been might be coming to the surface for you that were not there before, and they're making you feel, I don't know. I want to go further with this because this is just one card. The rest feels like a spiritual awakening. There we go, spiritual awakening. Ariel and the perception card is here. Xana and the abundance card, the cow. Bridget and the horse. And Oceana and the Lady of the Lake. Okay, so here I kind of feel like I really want to encourage my Cancers, because they are so caring and so nurturing to others, that as you nurture yourself, as you put some things that you're super excited about, you actually have such a better opportunity to have an influence of care on other people. I think this now feels as if maybe you have been treated in a way that is not matching what you had hoped in the way of your intentions towards someone. Maybe somebody has been a little rough with you, because if Mars is in your 12th house, these could be people you didn't see coming. And if you love and nurture other people, it can be a double whammy, because here is Ariel and the perception card. And Ariel is all about spiritual experiences, changing the way you view yourself. And this may be even a moment where you're like, man, I could feel that. I could feel something funky, but I just didn't look at it, because the cow is about asking and receiving. And there's Xana. I don't know if I think this is about abundance or nourishment right now, as much as there is this feeling of wanting to birth some sort of heart's desire. It could be a relationship. It could be something that you create within, to the outside world. And I feel as if it's time for you to start to allow for that on a emotional level, because Bridget is asking you to look deeper. And then I have the horse. And while this can represent getting help from other people, I think this is really about your belief system. I feel like this is Sagittarius. I feel as if the 12th house is naturally Pisces, and there's sort of this feeling of having to, for Cancer, to step away from the material world and maybe even allow myself to go into either spiritual walk, put myself in salt water. If I can get near the ocean, any body of water would be helpful. And then start to nurture your intuitive hits, the intuitive conversations. I recently had a meditation where I literally felt like I was having a conversation with spirit. And while it all sounded like my voice in my head, the answers coming through were very raw and very real. And they were opportunities for me to see where I was not valuing myself. And that was mirroring back at me in other people's behavior. Because Oceana is all about trusting and intuitive knowing that there's something more for you. And you've got to swim up to your destiny. You've got to meet your destiny with your heart and your intuition and your all the things that people can't see. And this is all about bravery and courage to indeed be you and hold your truth regardless of how other people will perceive it. You may be anticipating contempt or people arguing with you, or people, if you're the nurturer and now you want to take care of you and those other people are used to you taking care of them, they may have a moment about it. But I think that this is about thinking long term and how you actually, when you're taking care of yourself and your dreams and the things that make you feel valued and appreciated on the planet, then that will ripple out. So sometimes we have to kind of endure a little bit of discomfort in order to be comfortable, and for other people to see the wisdom of our intentions and our actions. All right, let's go on to our Leos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card today is the moon. Okay, so we're talking about Leo. And here, in the tarot, the moon represents confusion. It represents a period where things are unclear. And we just had a new moon. Well, it was yesterday, actually, in Capricorn. So you may be planting the seeds in this new moon and be unsure. You have Saturn opposing Leo right now, which, initially Saturn's in Aquarius, the first two laps over my Chiron, meaning moving forward, and then Saturn went retrograde. Now Saturn moved forward again. And that journey in that retrograde, this time Saturn sitting on my Chiron is not feeling so repressive or so depressive. It's actually engaging me as the builder, and it's giving me faith. So I want to offer this because I think this moon is not about confusion. It's about getting real with what's deep, deep inside of you that must come out. And maybe Saturn's been making you in that opposition feel like, no, don't do that. And this is about, again, I want to align with a being energy before I take action. And I don't think the beginning of 2023 is a good time to take action. It's more a good time to dream and to play and to start to engage yourself with vision boards and things that make you get excited about what you want to birth. Let's see. Our first angel is Shanti, the angel of peace. The second is Fiona. The third is Chantal, the angel of romance. And the final is Serena, the angel of abundance. Shanti is being joined by the king. Fiona is being joined by the dragon. Chantal is being joined by the frog. And Serena is being joined by the restriction card. Okay. This week we have Venus and Pluto having a meeting. They're going to have a very strong conversation on New Year's Eve. And I want to offer it this way. If indeed there is actually confusion, if this week is a lot of, it's so nice to be an old woman, 63 years old now, because I don't really care about New Year's Eve, and I don't care about going out, and I don't care about drinking anymore. At least not the way I used to, or partying, I should say. So here, there could potentially be the king representing a male energy or a partnership energy and a sense of wanting peace. Now, it can also represent legalities. It can represent authority. It can represent karma. And I want to offer it this way, because Shanti, the angel of peace, to me, here, this may really be about being an authority about what brings you peace. And maybe in reflection of this moon energy, or if it's bringing confusion, it's because there is a duplicity about your desires and someone else's desires. And you may fear that if you put yourself first, that love will be elusive, or love will not come to you, or love will reject you. Because Fiona says, now that you've asked the angels for help, be open to receiving. And the dragon is really about, I think the dragon is a super strong energy, but not an aggressive energy. She's cool, calm, and collected. She knows what she wants. She's ready to take flight, but she's waiting for her cue from spirit, because spirit is actually giving, it's their turn, spirit's turn to make a move on your behalf, and you to wait in some respects for a inspired action. Because Chantal is a card of romance, but I don't want to necessarily put this in romance, even though I've got the king. I kind of feel like it's what Leo loves, and that as you support and support emotionally, mentally, spiritually, what you want, there's this feeling of good luck coming. I almost feel like this isn't a release, but rather the frog representing good luck, because in the final position is Serena and the restriction card. And what I think is going on is that there's actually been disruption, or there's been dissatisfaction. The lion may have been roaring recently, and I want to offer it this way. Serena is telling me that this isn't about money. It's about understanding that not everything is about pushing forward. Not everything is about taking action. That oftentimes the best action we can take is no action, and to reflect and to review on what is my actual energetic being. One of the challenges of the Leo energy is you rule the heart and you rule courage. And sometimes everybody thinks you're so, oh, Leo's so big, Leo is, the performer or the actor, but sometimes there's a really scared little child in there who really wants people to enjoy how they perform and wants that applause. And if you're afraid that the applause won't come, criticism will come, then whatever you're endeavoring is on a shaky platform, which is why I feel like we're going to be serene. Wait until you feel this sense of abundance about moving forward with what you want. Right now, I don't think is a good time to push forward with things. I think there are things that we can nurture that we've already created, but this seedling we just planted yesterday under the new moon of Capricorn. We've got to give that seed an opportunity to sprout, the sprout to root, the root to take form and stock, and then to grow. So this is a time to emotionally connect with your intentions, to spiritually connect with your courage of your heart, and to really determine how serene you are about moving forward. Because I think if you're in a wobble, it's okay. Saturn's opposing your sign. And yet Saturn will also, because Saturn's going to stoke fears and repression, but it's also the one that says he's going to ask you if you're in the lane you want. Because as you step into what you love, then you're going to feel more serenity. So let me just kind of give you a quick scenario. Let's say you want to be a writer, or you want to be an actor, or you want to bear children. Maybe that road has been a little rocky. So what you do is you focus in on step by step. And maybe even you go into a place of appreciation for what is already evidential in your world, that things are lining up. Because I think that will be a powerful way for you to check into your intuition, check into your inner knowing, check into your heart, and then remove the confusion. All right. Let's go on to our Virgos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Fool. I very much think this is like a Mars energy. I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but the Fool is a pioneer. The Fool is doing what Mars does, looks before it leaps, or leaps before it looks. There's a sense of adventure. There's a sense of naivete. There's a sense of innocence and a sense of joy. His position feels very much like he's very hopeful as he starts off on this journey, unaware of the obstacles that lie ahead. Let's see, Virgo. Your ruling planet is going to go retrograde on the 29th until January 18th. So the beginning of the year may be an opportunity for you. Our first card is Layla, to set intentions. You're great at planning and strategizing and going into the storyboard of your life. Maybe this is where we're going. Start to be a little bit more excited about new things, new adventures, not looking at the practicality of things, but rather the fun, the joy. Layla is being joined by, or not joined, but the next angel is Archangel Uriel. Then we have Rosetta, and the final is Francesca. Virgo, Layla is being joined by the Trust card. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Swan. Rosetta is being joined by the Water Fairy. And Francesca is being joined by the Dog. Okay, so this feels like, for me, for Virgo, it's very much about loving your life. I feel as if, Virgo is of service. Virgo rules health. Virgo doesn't rule too many easy things. It rules pets. So we get that unconditional love there. But overall, Virgo is a thinker, a doer, a producer. And so here, this idea of the Fool makes me feel as if Spirit's saying maybe it's time to take on a more frivolous approach to things. Maybe it's a little bit of an opportunity at the beginning of the year to, rather than try to hit the ground running, to not fight the retrogrades and to relax and to contemplate and to talk to Spirit what it is your deepest desires. And there's the Trust card, because the Trust card is a 47, which reduces down to an 11, which to me is a master number of thought. Personally, as I've aged, I just thought money would bring me what I wanted. Money would bring me security. I want money. And as I've aged and I've made some money, not that much, I'm not really actually as focused on money as I want. What I realized is I wanted time. I wanted independence. I wanted flow. So the realization of that made me a better communicator to Spirit, and an ability to align my thoughts in a way to trust that as I align to that, I will experience it. Because Virgo, there's something about frustration that's being transformed for you. And if you've been frustrated because you have been so dutiful and a lot is going out and not a lot is coming back, this could be the possibility and the opportunity to transform that. And I say that because whatever your habits are, whatever you enjoy in the way of process, it's not about stopping that. It's about adding to your life, adding time, or adding joy, frivolity, playfulness. Because when I look at Rosetta, yes, it's a card of parenting and teaching, but it's in the angel's advice, and there's the Water Fairy. And I feel like it's, again, kind of capitalizing on this sort of naive energy. Mars being an adventurer, Mars going into new territory, Mars thinking about himself, what he wants for himself. And maybe that's what this gets to be for you a little bit. Just taking this little bit of time at the new year and not to push yourself too much. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Venus is going to start a conversation with Pluto, and it's going to be a real intense conversation about the deep psychology of how you value yourself. And she is willing to have that conversation because as she moves into Aquarius, she really wants to liberate herself from the feelings of insecurity, the feelings of not being enough, the feelings of not being able to express herself. Because in the final position, we have Francesca saying, what do you visualize? And then we have the Dog. And I really think that part of this is about being loyal to yourself and what you want for yourself. There's a few signs that are so focused on other people that in the human experience, the unconscious human that we're focused on. Let me try to be more clear. Virgo, when you're of service to someone, that person may inadvertently tether you to that service in a way that chokes you, a way that strangles you, a way that makes you feel like, when is it my turn to experience some, when is it about me? And I think this is about being loyal to yourself. I think this is about setting an intention. Yes, I like to be of service, but I want to be of service in balance. I want it to be about them and me. I want to work and have fun. I want to have this sort of experience that is more well-rounded. And I think that would be a wonderful way to set an intention for the new year, and to have spirit start to give you evidence of that. Because I think that Archangel Uriel really is talking about frustration. And then when we have the swan, I think this is about seeing yourself in that more beautiful energy. The fable of the swan is, starts with the ugly duckling. And then the swan becomes the most beautiful and revered. And I don't think it's just for the physical appearance, but for the interior as well. So Virgo, I think as Mercury goes retrograde at the beginning of the year, joining Mars in a retrograde, this gives you an opportunity to really review what you want in the future, and to start to implement within your own mind balance, so that you yourself feel nurtured and cared for, and you don't stress too much mentally about what's expected of you. All right, let's go on to our Libras, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Three of Cups, celebration, joy. And what is this? This is a week of holiday and joy and celebration. It's also the three faces of the woman, the virgin, the maternal energy, and the mature energy. So let's see Libra, and it also has all those pumpkins underneath it. So that's perfect for you, harvest time. So maybe this is about harvesting the wisdom that you have garnished over these last few years, and what it has afforded us in definition for what we want in our lives. Our first angel for Libra, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums is Teresa. The second is Isabella. The third is Daniel, and the final is Yvonne. Teresa is being joined by the wind fairy. Isabella is being joined by the earth fairy. Daniel is being joined by the stag. And the horse is joining Yvonne. This is really cool. I absolutely think this is more about the three faces of the woman. And I want to offer it this way, because this is not gender. I want to offer it as an energy of receptivity. The feminine receives. And I want to offer Libra an opportunity to review the phases of reception that you've gone through. Because Teresa is about worrying, taking care of everybody else. And then there's the wind fairy, which is about thoughts. And I believe that, similar to Cancer, and I know you square each other, but I believe these signs that are partnership oriented, that are oriented towards others, can inadvertently default to the other more than the self. So here, I think that the Three of Cups is representing a wisdom as you recognize that your thoughts have been focused on other people. And with the holidays, of course, buying gifts, preparing food, having people over to your home. So now it's time to take care of you physically. This is your physical body. And this physical body is really, yes, the timing is right for you to sit down at that table with a hot meal. You don't have to be in the kitchen and be the last one eating, or constantly, do you have this? Do you have that? Let it be. Let your guests get up and get their own food. Sit down, enjoy your glass of your beverage, whatever that is. Enjoy your meal. Enjoy your experience of gift giving, because here's Daniel, the angel of marriage and the angel's advice, but more often than not, he talks about history and relationship. And I think that this is now about not being too stubborn, about your role as as balancer, as provider, as hostess with the mostest, or host with the most, because I think that this is about giving yourself an opportunity to enjoy the experience of this week coming up. And here we have Yvonne talking for me about vulnerability, and the horse is about delegating. Okay, so now I think this is all about enjoying your holiday. Yes, do your thing, but also allow others to do for you. You know, you don't have to do everything. And if you're, feeling like you're going to be, considered a little bit of a slacking or something like that, I think it's an opportunity for you to say, this is the gift I give myself. This is the gift I give myself. You go ahead, you bring, if you're having holiday, people say, what can I bring? Tell them something they can bring. That's where I'm going with this. I think it's going to be a nice holiday. I think for you that you're really going to I kind of want to offer it this way, because with Venus, your ruling planet, having a conversation with having a conversation with Pluto in the planet of history, in the sign of history, Capricorn, and, this structural kind of expectation. I really think this is an opportunity for revision, but without tension. So you don't need a wrecking ball for the renovation. You just need to pull down a wall or two so you have more open sight line. And that open sight line is your chair at the dining room table and a hot meal sitting in front of you. And that's a metaphor, but I think you know what I mean. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Scorpio, our tarot card is the Tower. Ooh. People get so scared of this Tower. I'll tell you, and I say this a lot if you watch me, every time when I was a single, girl, well, I'm still single, but when I was a single, ready to mingle girl, every time I found a friend who would be a ride or die, I would do a tarot card reading for her. She'd get the Tower, she'd find a boyfriend, they'd get married, she'd move away, and there I would be once again, table for one. So something unexpected is going to happen. What will it be? What is going to blow your world up? And this doesn't have to be bad. It could be really, really good. Because as the South Node has been transiting Scorpio, there is a requirement to be egoless, to allow whatever is toxic to be excreted. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. All right. Scorpio, our first angel is Isabella. Yes, the timing is right. Bethany, self-care. Isaiah, new beginnings. And Daniel, the angel of marriage and history and relationship. Just heard a weird sound. Okay, Isabella is being joined by the horse. Bethany's being joined by the bird. Isaiah is being joined by the raven. And Daniel's been joined by the cat. Okay, I'm going to say this because something, I think there's the potential that with your ruling planet Pluto in Capricorn, and has been in Capricorn forever and a day, but now she's going to meet with Venus. Yes, she's going to have Pluto's going to have a brief conversation with Mercury, but Mercury's then going to scoot out of the room and head back into Capricorn. I want to look on the other side of the room, but Venus is hanging out there. And on New Year's Eve, they're having a conjunction. So they are literally going to have a conversation where they don't see anyone else in the room but each other. And I think for Scorpio, this is going to be an epiphany of a deep psychological dynamic that you've been operating on and you didn't even realize it. And it doesn't have to be negative, but it may have been blocking you on some level. Because yes, the timing is right for this new venture. Happiness follows your positive expectation. And the horse feels like Sagittarius to me right now. It feels as if it's like a belief system. It's like, wow, you know what? I didn't realize that inadvertently, I have not been really holding myself to a high enough esteem, because there's Bethany, the angel of self-care, and there's the history card. And I think this is about starting to tell a new story about who and what you are. And if people have been just calling you stingy Scorpio, they are very, very myopic and shallow, because Scorpio is one of the most full-bodied, rich signs there is. It just requires complete authenticity. And the human is used to masking. So here, Isaiah says the timing is right to really see the magic of no longer picking the bones. This isn't about looking at what you need to do. It's rather about letting whatever has been be, and now moving forward on a new platform versus taking that with you. And that might require a lot of bravery on your part, because you're going to have to be brave about I want to offer it this way. Sometimes when I have individualized myself, the other party does not agree with me. And in order for me to be happy, I have to be willing for them to see me as a villain. And I don't particularly like that role, but I also don't like suffering in silence for somebody else's imbalanced agenda. So I think that's what's going on for you, Scorpio, because here is all about relationships and history in relationships. We saw history here and self-care, and this is about healthy boundaries and independence. So if for some reason you are in situations with friends, relations with your siblings, your family, I think this is a time to really start to look at what you believe about yourself, what you believe about your happiness, what you're willing to purport within your thoughts and your awareness for your happiness, and to offer yourself a new beginning. And part of that new beginning means I don't need to go over my own history. It is what it is, and I can't do a dang thing about it anymore. So why bring it up? My father's been dead for a long time, but if he wasn't dead, I'm pretty sure that our dynamic would not have changed. He was not motivated in any way to be reflective. I am the queen of reflection. We are like oil and vinegar that way. He would think I was too intense. He would say, can't you just relax and have fun? I'd be like, no, I don't know how to do that. And so, well, I can fret about that relationship forever and a day. It is what it is. And he was who he was. And now my thought is, do I continue to focus on his imbalance? Because he really, every time I see a loving dad on TV, I cry. But, what good is that going to do me? It's only going to anchor me into that old vibration. So I think this is liberation from an old vibration, a sudden epiphany, a sudden way of processing something that says, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I don't need that anymore. And I got it. All right. Our final sign is Sagittarius. Oh, you got the Empress. Look at that. Venus, love, bounty, beauty, pregnancy. Let's see where we're going. All right, here we go. Here we go. Our first angel Sagittarius is Rosetta. The second is Crystal. The third is Indriel. And the final is Daniel. Wow. All right, here we go. When Mercury and Venus were going through your sign, I just had such an intuitive hit that fun things were going on, like new relationships could potentially start, definitely exploring new things, new ideas, new concepts, having new faith in yourself. And this might be we might see some shifting for you. All right. Rosetta is being joined by the Love card. Wow. Crystal's being joined by the Cat. Indriel's being joined by the Lady of the Lake, and Daniel's being joined by the Serpent. I'm going to say this in two ways. Sagittarius, for those of you that are of childbearing years, male or female, if you want to start a family, there is a very good possibility that a pregnancy could take place or a conception could take place around this time. I say that because I absolutely believe that the soul is participating in its journey of gestation and the natal chart that it will experience throughout this lifetime. So if you think about the souls on the other side, looking at Saturn conjunct Pluto a couple of years ago, or the Saturn-Uranus square, there's been a lot of stuff going on that the soul may say, hey, that's a little shaky for me. I'm going to wait a minute before I come through. And then we see beautiful women who are conceiving at ages that people think are a little outside the box. Hilary Swank, Diana Jenkins, just to name a few. So I want to offer it this way for my Sagittariuses, because the Empress is all things feminine at a very, very high level, receiving bounty, receiving abundance, procreation, a sense of nurturing, a sense of feeling abundant in love. Because here is Rosetta, and here's the love card. And those of you that want to get pregnant, there's a good possibility you will. If you don't want to get pregnant, take precautions. This could represent your inner child. It could represent moving into a teaching energy with other children. But I want to offer, because there's a few hues depending upon where you are in your chapter of life. So this feels really warm and fuzzy to me. Now we have Crystal in the opportunity obstacle saying have faith and hope. And then there's the cat. And I think here it's not about independence or healthy boundaries. It's 9 lives. It feels like, if you are a woman who is, late 30s, early 40s, and you're endeavoring to give birth to a child, and your doctors are telling you all the scary parts, just remember, for everything scary, there's something not scary. Because I think that this is really about birthing your desires, all of them, whatever they may be. Because if you're like me, 63 years old, you're not going to want to birth a child, but you may want to birth something else. Because Indriel is the light worker, and now there's the courage here, the courage to stand in your perception, what you want for yourself, regardless of the mental storm or emotional storm. Hold your truth effortlessly, for you will have an opportunity to display that. Here we have Daniel, the angel of marriage, and we have the serpent, which represents healing and knowledge. I believe here that this is the reconciliation of your history, the reconciliation of how you've interacted with others, maybe even in relation to your own childhood or to your ability to bring a child into this world. But this feels very warm and fuzzy. And for those of you that want to bring a child into this world, enjoy your intimate relations. Don't make it a job. Don't try. Try as a resistant energy. Just have fun. Laugh. Be playful. And if indeed you're of a different age and you want to birth your heart's desires, then, allowing yourself to believe that it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, or how old you are. Meaning, if you're 21, doesn't mean you don't have enough experience. You have heart. You have a vision. If you're 61 or 71 or 81, same rules apply. Give yourself permission to expand. Jupiter, your ruler, is in the sign of independence, pioneering spirit, and they like each other. Fire, they're complementary to each other. So I think this is really exciting and really fun. So overall, I think this week is more about relaxation than anything else, sort of just kind of going with the flow a little bit, really self-care in the way of, don't push yourself into a place of stress. It's easy to do during this time. And as we move into the new year, we still have that sluggish energy. And if you haven't had a chance, please check out the January videos. I've done them sign by sign, so you can check that out. If you'd like to book a reading with me, I'm available. Next Sunday is the 1st of January. I'll be doing another weekly Angelscope, but it'll be a video, and then we'll be back live on Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time on January 8th. Have a wonderful holiday season to you all. I love you dearly. And I so appreciate you watching my channel and supporting my work. Thank you so much. Peace out. I'll see you next week, guys.